A few years ago, there was a town called Addison in the news for its growing crime problem. The mayor decided that the residents should have a say in what should be done about this problem, so she announced that there would be 2 town hall meetings where people could learn about what's going on and give feedback. So she announced to the crowd, "Crime is a beast preying on the city of Addison. The crime rate in the once peaceful city has steadily increased over the past 3 years. In fact, these days it seems that crime is lurking in every neighborhood." In 2004, there were 46,000 crimes reported, and by 2007, that number has risen to over 55,000. And the number of violent crimes is especially alarming, increasing from only 330 murders in 2004 to over 500 by 2007. So everyone received a blank ballot and was told to just give one suggestion for what the town should do. The mayor repeated this process on the second evening, telling the crowd, "Crime is a virus plaguing the city of Addison," and sharing all the same statistics. So people gave a huge variety of responses about what the town should do, but those responses tended to cluster into a few categories. The first, the data analysts referred to as enforce, because they involved enforcing. The second category they called reform, because these are ideas that got to getting to the root and strengthening the town, healing things like welfare and education. So people in general did tend to favor the less forgiving, more punitive, the enforced solutions, but that was especially true of the people who attended the first night. The people who came on the second night were a little more likely to say that they should do more reform-oriented things. So what was different between those 2 nights? That was the mystery. The data analysts had collected information, and there were just as many Democrats as Republicans, men as women, old as young people. But what did differ is the way that the mayor described the crime. Remember that on the first night, she told the people it was a beast ravaging the city. And if a real beast were ravaging the city, what might we expect people to want to do? They would probably want to capture it and punish this beast to keep themselves safe. And on the second night, she referred to it as a virus plaguing the city. Again, if a real virus were spreading around Addison, people would probably want to find the cause. They would want to heal the town and help strengthen it. And these are exactly the types of solutions that people who attended the second night did suggest for dealing with the crime problem. Now, at this point, I should make one confession, which is that Addison is not a real town, and its crime problem was therefore fabricated. But this phenomenon that I shared with you is real, and it was investigated in a series of experiments by researchers named Paul Thibodeau and Lara Boroditsky. What they found is that after reading about crime as either a beast or a virus, people gave suggestions that were systematically related to that metaphor, so more enforce-related suggestions for the beast readers and more reform-oriented by people who read about it as a virus. So what we see here is that metaphor shaped the way people reasoned about this complex, abstract crime problem. It created a frame that they could add all the extra, the incoming information like the statistics into. So why should you care? Because metaphor is not just a rhetorical flourish. It does not just reflect our thoughts, but it shapes them. And this process is often unconscious. Many of the participants in the Addison experiment didn't even remember what metaphor they had encountered. And metaphor is everywhere. It pervades our classrooms, like when we talk about electrons that are excited or DNA as a blueprint. It's even all over our political discourse, like when we refer to America as a melting pot. And when someone has cancer, we often refer to them as fighting or battling the disease, and we might encourage them to stay strong or soldier on. But what do these types of metaphors suggest for people and their responsibility in fighting the disease? I am a Metaphor Missionary, also known as a cognitive science grad student. I spend all day, every day, and some nights and some weekends researching the consequences for metaphor, for how we understand the world. One line of work I'm especially excited about at the moment is those cancer metaphors I just referred to. And I'd like to find out, are there certain people who are more empowered by the violent metaphors than others? Are there maybe better alternatives that encourage more productive mindsets? So I shared the story of Addison today to remind us all that it's so important that we mind our metaphors because they shape the way we see and behave in the world. So with that, I'd like to share a few resources, and thank you so much for your attention during these 5 quick minutes.